Oddly enough, despite the fact that I talk about my addiction and all the damage that gambling has done to me personally, I tend not to wade in on arguments about the outright banning of online casinos or the outright banning of gambling full stop. I also try not to get too involved in the moralistic values of online casino companies or slot machine providers or whatever, because it is such a multifaceted business model. It's a multifaceted issue which requires quite a lot of information and input to form a valued opinion. However, one thing is for certain: No Limit City, the company that provides certain popular slot games, have, I believe, massively overstepped the mark and are actually acting in an incredibly predatory way, which is preying on the very gambling instincts that get people into this horrible cycle of addiction and causes so much harm and so much damage to so many people. They have released a new slot machine which is slowly being rolled out across the online casinos called 9 to 5. Now, I will just take a moment aside to talk about the irony of the naming. I don't know whether this is intentional, but the very fact that they have named this slot after the day-to-day mundane grind, and actually themed it as such, of a soul-crushing, spirit-destroying 9 to 5 job, which most people have to undertake, even if it's something they absolutely despise doing. Particularly if you are a gambling addict. You have to undertake this 9 to 5 grind in order to fund the very addiction that they are preying upon. Now, I am not saying that this is deliberate beyond just having something to theme this game about. Alright? But it is a little bit, in my opinion, of a piss take for them to call it 9 to 5 and theme the whole game around a mundane grind, basically being a wage slave, when a lot of the people who are going to become hooked on this particular game for its particularly unique feature, which I'm going to want to talk about, will be the very ones that are losing the wages they earn from this horrible day-to-day grind at the hands of your slot games. Right? So why am I getting so hooked up on this particular game? Why have I dragged myself off my deathbed and chosen to use the very little bit of voice I've got left to denounce this game, to denounce this provider, and indeed to denounce any online casinos or any online casino promoters that are going to be pushing this game into the faces of their customers? Well, there's a unique feature to this game, a feature called God Mode. Now, which of course is going to appeal to people who, are online gamers or, like the video games and stuff like that, where God Mode is seen as a very positive, all-out powerful thing to choose. But the basis is very simple for this God Mode. It takes away all the other in-game elements, it takes away all the other bonus features, everything else. You click the button, you buy one spin at a cost of 1,400 times your stake, an irrelevant number as we'll come to discover, and one big reel spins, and it either lands on the winning square or it doesn't land on the winning square. If it doesn't land on the winning square, your one spin is over in the blink of an eye and you win nothing. You've lost 1,400 times whatever that arbitrary stake number at the bottom of the screen says. Now, if that big square lands, you get a max win. All right, a max win of 9,217 times your stake. Another incredibly arbitrary number, as we'll come to discover. Like I say, this God Mode is a completely separate game to the normal spin the reels, try and land the bonus, get the feature, see what you win kind of a slot game. All right. Now, I may have my own issues with online slots and all the rest of it, which I can talk about till the cows come home. Right. But this is a very different animal. Now, we can strip away all this stake nonsense. All right. It might say 10p stake on the screen, but ultimately what you're doing is you're paying £140 for the chance to win £921.70. That is literally the bare numbers. Now, I looked into the information on this slot, and there's basically a 1 in 7 chance of winning every time you click the God Mode spin button. And that is basically with a return of maximum return, or only possible return, of 6.58x. And that is it. That is the entirety of the game. Whatever the numbers say, you are betting 1 in 7 to win 6.58 times your stake, which is an RTP of 90 whatever percent, right? But that is it. It doesn't matter whether that says 10p, it doesn't matter whether it says £1. That is all irrelevant. All it is you're paying this much to try and win that much. So why do I think this is so bad? Surely this is just like covering, I don't know, 4 numbers on a roulette wheel, or 5 numbers, or whatever it works out to be. You're just trying to multiply one number by 6.5 by spinning a 1 in 7 chance, which is all it boils down to. That is literally it. You can strip away the fancy graphics and the music and the catchy Max Win tune, right? But that's all it boils down to be. Well, this speaks to me, this game, because this is the sort of thing that I would try and use, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, as a potential, what I would call, get out of jail card. All right, you're having a session on an online casino, you're already deposited and lost more money than you actually planned to do, or that you wanted to do, or dare I say, that you could afford to do, and here's this thing, this God mode opportunity, the ability to win it all back with one click of the reel. You might not contemplate taking all that money to blackjack. You might not contemplate taking all that money to roulette, in order to try and win back your losses, to chase your losses. But here you can do it in a pretty cartoonised video game format slot game. It's bare gambling. And not only is it that dangerous in a way that people are going to try and use this particular feature to win back losses from either this slot or from other games they've been playing, but also it has the potential that it's going to tempt people to attempt the Martingale system on it. Now, most people know what the Martingale system is, but effectively what it is it's where you start on a low stake and you try and double your money. All right, most commonly done on red or black on roulette. So you try and double your money, and every time you lose, you double your stake, and then so eventually, when it does land, what happens is you get your money back. People will do this. People who are predisposed to a gambling problem or already have a gambling problem will do this. They'll think, I'll click it once. One chance, 1 in 7. I'll have a go on 10p or whatever the lowest stake is, and it won't land. Maybe they'll have another go. And then what they'll do, they'll up the stake, and they'll up the stake, and they'll up the stake, until eventually they're betting far, far more than they ever envisaged, and they're trying desperately to recoup their losses in the quickest, most aggressive, most money-sucking way that is imaginable. Your average game time being literally a handful of seconds. That is it. But why have they done this? Why not just put out a big wheel with numbers 1 to 7 on it, and you have to land on the 7? Well, this appeals to slot players. Not only does it appeal to slot players, it's highly, highly marketable. It gives Chipmunks an opportunity to make one of his stupid big win faces in another thumbnail and push his dodgy crypto casinos down the throats of his fanboys. All right? It gives Casino Grounds constant fodder for more big win videos, because all these people have won 9,217x. No, they haven't. They've won 6.5 times their stake on a very, very basic, and when you strip it away, incredibly dull but highly, highly predatory game. No Limit City, you really need to be ashamed of yourself for this release. I think this is terrible. I think it's predatory. I think it's a piss take calling it 9 to 5, and I think what you're doing is you're preying on the very worst facets of not only gamblers, not only gambling addicts, but the online casinos and those people who promote them using these max wins as a lure for their very, very temptable audience, and I hold you in massive contempt for doing so. Everyone else, stay safe, stay sane. Thanks for your continued support. I'm going to lay down. All the best.